Hello and welcome to Downtown. I'm your host, Robbie Haig. Thank you for being with us. My guest today is one that many of you will know. His name is Frank Mand, and he's a writer and photographer for the Old Colony Memorial in Plymouth. Welcome to the show, Frank.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
It's fun so far.
So we'll make it even funner. Can you give us a little background on Frank Mand and who he is, or was, or?
Well, I'm almost surprised to say that I've lived in Plymouth a long time, since 1985, 86. Our first home that we're still in. We moved here. We actually started moving in just days before my first son, Robert, was born. He came a couple weeks early, so we were caught by surprise. So he moved into a home down in South Plymouth that was 95% cardboard boxes with a little space sculpted out for his bassinet or
why should he be different than any other?
Yeah. So that was kind of fun. As a matter of fact, I went from the hospital, Brigham and Women's in Boston, before he came home to move.
Wow.
Into that house. And so I'm surprised to have been here 30 years because, as we've talked about before, I never really kind of felt I lived any place as a permanent home or a place where I came from or felt really strong connections to, because I was a service brat when I was younger and we moved around a lot. I enjoyed that very much, and I kind of followed that mode through a lot of my life, moving, changing jobs, trying new things, being a little more adventurous than probably smart at times in terms of professional pursuits. But we were going to build a home in Kingston, and certain things happened. It didn't work out. We actually had a lot and we're clearing it. But the builder we had a home that someone was trying to build in Plymouth, and they called us and they said that they didn't get a mortgage. That family, would you like to look at? It's a lot like the house you were planning. And we came down, saw it, signed on the dotted line, and been here ever since. So
wonderful.
So, but for a long time, I didn't live in Plymouth. I mean, I lived in Plymouth, but I didn't work in Plymouth.
Okay.
I, worked in Charlestown for Mass General and different businesses. I worked for a newspaper down in Dartmouth, the Chronicle, that I edited, and so I was moving all around and almost lived kind of like a tourist in Plymouth. I'd go downtown and, like a tourist, look at the sights, and then go back to our little suburban enclave, and like a lot of people, I think, in Plymouth, and still an issue there.
So do you feel like you've found your niche in writing?
And then what happened for me, I've always been a writer. I went to school, essentially loved poetry and literature, but realized very quickly after getting out of school that I needed to find some way to live day to day. So I started out copywriting and doing marketing things while I tried to get a newspaper job. Got one for the Patriot Ledger, and then bopped back and forth between journalism jobs and other jobs. I was the executive editor of the Journal of Nuclear Medicine for about 5 years, and that was a stretch for me. Enjoyable in its own way. But really, for me, the revelation came, and a great number of wonderful things happened when I began working for the Old Colony, because suddenly the place where I lived became the home where I lived, because I began to get to know the people more and get to know the history more and see the unbelievable natural beauty in the community. And before you know it, I remarked to myself that, oh my God, I actually live here. This is my home.
You have a home.
It was a surprise.
Yeah.
It took a few things, but I very much enjoy where I am and what I'm doing now and being part of the community.
Well, I think you're an icon in the community.
An icon?
I would say yes.
An eyesore?
No, not at all. Talk about a few of the things that I think you're ingenious. I have to get that off my chest. Some of the things that you came up with, your ideas.
Well, the sunrise thing was...
The sunrise thing?
Was something, in 2013, actually, I knew of this concept called first footing. My wife is Scottish by heritage, And there's this wonderful tradition, I think it's a Gaelic tradition as well, of the significance of the first of the year, whoever comes into your house, at the very first person can set the tone for the entire year. And in a way, that thought got in my head, and I wanted to do that for the town in a way. And I said, you know, for my first footing, I'm going to go out the first sunrise of the year and take a picture. And maybe I'm in my head, I think I said, or maybe even said it on Facebook, that I was going to do it every day, not really understanding the ramifications of that. And I went out that first day, and I went to Ellisville Harbor, and there was a few inches of fresh snow, and the sun came up all aglow on the harbor there. It's a gorgeous spot any time of the year. And that first picture came out very nice. And I put it on Facebook, and people reacted to it. And I started doing it and stayed doing it and went to bed early purposefully for an entire year. Maybe, you know, trying to get to bed by 9, if I could get to bed by 10, and get up by 4 a.m. every morning for an entire year. And again, this process started of understanding and seeing for the first time where I lived and how gorgeous it was, and how many wonderful places.
Now, did you have a plan in your mind about where you were going to take tomorrow's picture?
Well, at first I thought I could plan it, because I thought, well, I need so many vistas and so many beaches, and I'll do churches and steeples, I'll do this and that. But weather and other conditions and opportune moments, you suddenly see something, they interfere with that. So though I tried to have a plan, eventually it was just, okay, these are places I know I haven't gone, or these are areas I know I haven't gone. One of the things was, people would say to me, there's a pond for every day of the year in Plymouth. You should go to every one of those. And I didn't intend to do that, but I went to a lot of beautiful ponds that people rarely get to see. They're hard to find, a lot of them. And was there by myself at sunrise, and over and over again, there were these experiences. Plymouth alone, it's amazing what's there, and just off the beaten path. You have to make an effort to find it, but once you do, once you get a glimpse into what's available in Plymouth, I think you become kind of happily complacent that these things are there.
And I don't want you to get off the beaten path. At the end of 365 shots.
Right. So I have to give all credit to my wife, Mary. I knew I needed to have some sort of culminating event. So after about 200 pictures, 200 days, I started to ruminate over where that final picture would be and whether I should have some kind of event. And it hit on me that I should, and it should be significant location. And I was originally thinking of Leiden Street, because it's the first street, it's the original street, and I thought I could line people up, whoever I could get, down that steep channel that leads down toward the rock and the harbor. And I told my wife, and she said, well, why not Plymouth Plantation? Because there you could evoke the whole history of the community, and it would look like 1627, and it just seemed like a marvelous idea. And of course the challenge was, would they ever let me? Well, there were two challenges. First of all, there was the challenge of would they let me, and they were wonderful. They really understood how this could be a wonderful picture and a wonderful, unique event, and they said yes. Shock. That was shocked by that. And then the challenge was, can I get people there at 6:15 in the morning on December 31st in the freezing cold? Can I get people to assemble? And I
365 people.
At least 365, yeah. I wanted to fill out the whole calendar of the year and have a picture associated with every person, a person with every picture. And not only did I do that, but there were 500 people that signed up and showed up.
Surprise.
And that was an event. You were there, and there was tailgating in the parking lot. There were, there was stout and oysters and champagne and that wonderful picture and wonderful people, yourself and, Wedge Bramhall was there.
Yeah.
And it was 6:15 in the morning.
And cold.
Very cold. It was like 17 degrees.
Oh my.
There was snow all over the place.
Yeah.
And it worked out. There were so many wonderful people that made that happen, but as we were discussing before, it was a moment in my life when I really paused, and I usually don't pause, I usually go straight ahead, and said, what the heck happened there?
Yeah.
What was that all about? Why did those people show up? I didn't in any way, I made some pretty pictures. There was something more than the pictures, the sunrise event. There was a lot more than that going on, and I wanted to understand it.
It was all about you, Frank.
No, it wasn't. No.
Oh, I do believe so.
It was, no, I'll tell you what, I put out a couple of emails and I said, if you love Plymouth the way I love Plymouth, or have come to love Plymouth, then you should be there for this final sunrise picture. And I really think there was something about a celebration of the community there. And maybe I was the focal point that allowed that to be embraced in that particular occasion in a kind of perfect environment. But
I think we were all so proud of you actually getting out there 365 days, taking a picture at sunrise. I mean, we had to do something, right?
I think one of the things that it made me realize, a very basic thing, is that we get a lot of credit, maybe undue credit, individuals, for consistency. Mm-hmm. So the fact that I did it every day of the year, I got a lot of bonus points for that.
Yes, you did.
And there are certainly far better photographers and much more insightful people and greater writers, and but I got a lot of points for consistency there,
yes,
and I took that to the bank. But something I think more came out of that. So, but it was a wonderful experience. I'll never forget it. Yeah. And
the following year, you came up with another plan.
Are you talking about Community?
I am.
Oh, yeah. I guess it was the next year. Yeah. That I thought, again, trying to think of what that final sunrise gathering was all about. I realized that it was people. The 500 people that were there were mainly comprised of people that were already very engaged in the community, that were already giving of themselves. There were small charities, there were long established charities, there were the Rotarians, there were the Friends of Burial Hill, and many other groups. And I realized that what the core of the community are these groups, or these people that are always trying to participate and give of themselves to the whole, to the community. And I thought, how can we note that? How can we have a significant reflection on that on a regular basis? And I thought very simply that we have this tree in the downtown for the holidays, and it's usually just white lights, maybe some ribbons on it. I thought, what if we made, or if these organizations made an ornament for them, represent themselves, and that the tree becomes the community tree. Now, there were some people that were upset that I referred to it that way, that it's a Christmas tree. I certainly understand that, but it was embracing of all that is good in the community. Right. And whatever you call it, it was a wonderful representation of that. We ended up this year having 75 or more ornaments. You participated in helping to put them up and create them as well. But we had 75 ornaments that represented a broad cross-section of the community, from charitable groups to schools to churches to environmental groups and on and on. And this was the first year.
It was very exciting.
And I think next year that we'll have maybe twice as many, because a lot of people now understand both what the concept is, which I think is very simple, but also how it ended up, which was very pretty. I described that tree in Town Square as kind of your home, your house tree, if you have one, that has all these handmade ornaments on it, charming little things that a grandkid did or were passed on from generation to generation. It had that feeling. Right. And I can see it more having that feeling. And we're going to be doing some things with that. Yeah. I think next year it's got to be a little more organized. We'll have more ornaments. But I think also I would like to raise some funds so that the burden is not on the town to find a tree somewhere in the town, which is what has always happened. Right. But in fact, to find someone where we'll get a tree that has been grown to be an ornamental tree. And I think the town deserves it. The town is significant in so many ways. We need to have something that's in keeping with the historical significance of
Right.
the community.
And something came even of the tree that you did not expect. I don't think anyone expected.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, there was a little charming, spontaneous thing that happened. Several people, including some of the children from the local elementary schools participating in a class project, created objects such as scarves and hats and other things, and little care boxes full of things that people less fortunate could just come by and take. Whether it's a homeless person that needed a scarf or gloves, or someone a little hungry, or there were notepads, people were leaving all sorts of wonderful things under the tree.
Right.
It was the perfect response to what we were trying to do there.
It was truly a community.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
It was exciting.
And
then you came up with another idea.
And this isn't...
I think you don't ever sleep.
Well, walking home.
Yes.
And the website is walkinghome.us.
Okay.
I'm starting to take it very seriously, but that's an idea that also came out of the original Sunrise and my embrace of the community, its embrace of me. I wanted to do something. People would always say as we were talking, what are you going to do next?
Right.
Why don't you do this? And I hope politely rejected a lot of these things because you don't want to repeat yourself, and you also don't want to seem as if you're just trying to focus attention on yourself. I wanted to do something meaningful. And I came up with an idea that, I may curse the day, called walking home. And the notion is simply that I'm almost overwhelmed by what I've discovered so late in my life and in everything else, this community that I love and feel part of. And I want to understand, reflect on what it is to others, what home is to others, what they aspire to in home, what they have in home, what they reflect on they used to have, what they are sad that they are being denied perhaps. And I want to talk about that in an interesting way, and not in a pedantic way or whatever. So I came up with this idea called Walking Home, in which I go to the West Coast and take a year to walk home to Plymouth. It's a little bit tied into 2020 in that I'll leave in 2018 and hopefully arrive back on Thanksgiving Day 2019.
Which, of course, will be the beginning
of the 400th commemoration.
Right.
But it's a walking conversation at a very slow pace, where some people from Plymouth have already told me they'll walk with me a day or so here. David Gould, the Director of Marine and Environmental Management, has a home in Arizona, I believe, and he may walk a day with me. Excellent. The Doyles, Bill and Beth, who have an oyster business in town and are wonderfully involved in a lot of things. They're talking about joining with me, a few other people as well. So I'm going to walk and talk with people from this community, and hopefully people that I meet along the way or that know that I'm coming, about what it is they love about their homes and things like that, as I cross the country at a very, very slow pace, and reflect on both Plymouth and our entire nation, and what it is we want to feel about home. Because I think it's very, very important. I think when you do feel you have home, when you do feel you have community, it takes the edge off everything.
Right.
It makes you feel purposeful. It makes you feel committed and engaged. And I think in a lot of cases people don't feel that way, but then again, in this country, a lot of people feel very strongly about where they live, and the qualities of it, and the benefits of it, and their little corner. It could be something as simple as somebody in Missouri showing me their garden in the back of their house. It could be as amazing as someone picking me up when I stop my walk for the day and saying, come with me and take me for a little drive, and showing me a beautiful valley and vista. And
Right.
it could be a lot of those things. It could be discussions as well about...
It's not only what's home for you, it's what home means to them.
And as I come back to my home, and
Right.
I mean, I'm not looking to be negative at all, because I'm inspired to do this.
Very good.
But I need the support of the community.
Yes, you do.
It's really all about the community, and I'm becoming a lot more overt and public that I'm going to do this because I want so much for people in the community to participate. And the design and what I'm thinking about this incorporates Plymouth and its residents. And I actually, we were talking about before, I'm thinking that Plymouth will be on my back, practically in my backpack, in the sense that I want to talk every day as I walk across the country, all 365 days, about individuals in the community, about ongoing events in the community. I kind of want to be the town crier, though it'll be hard to hear me from, wherever I am across the country.
I have a feeling we'll hear you.
Yeah. And,
what kind of mileage are you talking about?
I think the estimate, because I don't have a very specifically defined, that's to be defined by people's interest in a lot of ways.
Okay.
But the estimate is about 4,400 miles.
That's a lot of shoe leather.
It is, but broken down at a leisurely pace, walking pace, I'm going to do about 12 and a half miles a day. Should take me about 6 hours. I should be starting at sunrise and done by noon, and then either falling dead asleep until the next morning. Probably early on I'll be pretty, but as I get my pace, I'm going to be meeting with people and talking with people and taking little side trips with people to show me their homes. But it's not a physical challenge per se.
Okay.
It's kind of a mental challenge to do this every day. It's a personal challenge, in a lot of ways. I am disrupting my home and my home life.
Very interesting. To come home.
Yes, I'm
You're
leaving
shaking it all
home.
up. Yeah.
You have to leave home to understand or really appreciate home. I'm kind of making myself a prodigal son on purpose, But
So what are you doing to alert people from the Pacific Ocean to here?
Yeah, one of my plans is to begin to send letters out to newspapers along the general swath. It's not a route yet, it's a swath that goes across the country. And to ask, essentially to put this out there and say, I'm going to be coming through your area at a particular time. It's all about home. Would you show me your home? Would you take me into your home? Would you like me to, would you walk with me for a while? I'm really hoping that it'll build up momentum beforehand, that people will, on the general swath, will be aware of it, and that I'll hear from people. So not only will I have Plymouth people that may walk with me or tell me about their lives, but I'll have people in all the states I cross and all the communities I pass through that will, I'm not looking to have crowds. I'm looking to make connections so that I can talk about this and reflect upon this and write about this.
But there would be the possibility of crowds in some certain places.
It's difficult enough to communicate this to the people that already know you. I'm sure there will be people that find affinities for this across the country. But overall, I don't think that it's not like there's going to be mass meetings or whatever. I don't expect that, and I don't kind of want that. Okay. I want a slow, reflective walk. I want a slow pace. I want a lot of quiet moments. I want a lot of days when I'm by myself, just meandering. It's amazing to think that if I only walk 12 and a half miles a day, if I was to reverse the trail, it would take me 2 days to get out of Plymouth. Yes. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to slowing down that pace. We all move at an unbelievably rapid pace, taking a lot of information in, and to actually slow it down to where I'm just reflecting and seeing and hearing and having conversations I'm being very nice to myself. It's a gift. It's a luxurious gift I'm giving to myself.
Wow.
I'm just hoping that that it's worth sharing, the experience I have.
And you have to be a little anxious about it too.
I'm scared, yeah.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, how can I not be scared? Just the notion of, I'll be in the desert, sleeping in a little teeny tent, and maybe no one around. I'll be going up these roads there'll be weather, there'll be your usual ornery souls, you know.
Right.
But I don't think anything out of the ordinary per se, you know. Just walking down any street in USA has its perils, but its pluses as well. But I have to be scared.
Sure.
I'd be crazy not to be, yeah.
Well, there were people talking about the fact that with your 365 sunrises, I see a book coming on. But with your walk across the country, I definitely see.
Yeah,
see
you know,
a book coming on.
I did work on a book on the 365 sunrise, but I felt like I was in some way forcing it because it was very interior. If it was ever a book, it would be very poetic, I think, or I would hope.
Okay.
And in that sense, it wouldn't necessarily be marketable. You know, it would be an exercise, and in a lot of ways, I'm taken up with that same exercise every day as a local reporter and a member of the community, and I'm involved in a lot of other groups.
Yeah.
So it would almost be a little overindulgent to write a book about that, though I should have. It could have been a good coffee table book, you know.
Right.
This, I think I'm going to write in process, in a way,
Very good.
and then
You
shape it
might-
when I'm done.
You might have a lot of time on that walk to
Simply
reflect.
if I write, you know, a page every day of what I've experienced and what I'm thinking, and then I can shape it later. But that would be a book, and an interesting one, I think.
Very good.
I remember, this is a weird memory though, when I was a young man at college, I took, oh no, this is before college, that's right. I was in Canada working in a kind of junior Peace Corps type thing. And so I worked on an Indian reservation the whole summer. And then at the end of the summer, we ended up in Montreal with one of the people who was with our 6-person group on this Indian reservation in Northern Ontario. And then I took a bus ride from Montreal to Washington, D.C. to come home after I'd been gone all summer. I was 16 years old. And on that bus, which is basically one bus that went all the way from Montreal to Washington, D.C., there was a woman who was not altogether present in some ways, but very, very interesting, who woke me up. I had almost the same kind of hair back then, by combing my hair from the seat behind me.
Really?
And we actually ended up having long conversations, and one of the things she said to me that's always stuck with me, she was so funny, was about how to write a book. And she said, what you do is you write every day, you circle the big pieces in red, that's a book, she said. And in some ways, I agree. I agree that, you know, if you're honest and you can communicate what experience you have and what real emotions you experience and what things you see, that's an honest book. And I'm hoping that in a lot of ways this comes out of that in that way. The good parts, the exciting parts, the beauty of the country, the remarks of people, the challenges.
Excellent. Well, we'll be watching you, and I wish you the greatest of luck. I think it's a fantastic venture and adventure.
Have we talked half an hour already?
We have.
Oh my God.
Yes. And it's so very exciting. I'll keep in touch with you. You can be sure of that.
Thank you.
And thank you all out there for listening. I'm hoping that some of you might be along the trail with Mr. Frank Mann while he's doing his tour.
Come on down.
Come on down. We'll hear more about it too, Frank. Thank you again. This is your host, Robbie Haig, saying thank you for being part of Downtown, and we hope to see you real soon.